Did you know that silence can be one of the most powerful tools in your spiritual life? The way you respond to chaos can completely transform your inner peace and strengthen your faith. Today, I'll be sharing 10 spiritual principles inspired by the writings of C.S. Lewis and the scriptures, designed to help you protect what is sacred and find strength in stillness. These principles not only reflect the wisdom of Jesus, but also the profound insights of one of the greatest Christian thinkers, C.S. Lewis. If you're looking to deepen your relationship with God and discover more life-changing spiritual insights, be sure to subscribe to this channel and activate notifications. By joining, you'll receive inspiring content that will help you live with peace, trust, and discernment. Don't miss out on the chance to grow spiritually. Click subscribe and make sure you're the first to know when new videos are available. Have you ever felt like you're wasting energy trying to explain yourself to people who don't value or understand what you're saying? Often, the more we try to justify ourselves, the more misunderstood and emotionally drained we become. Many of us face similar spiritual challenges, interacting with people or situations that steal our peace. But what do we do when the conflict seems unavoidable? Jesus gives us a powerful answer: the wisdom of silence. In this video, we will explore 10 essential principles: how to stay silent when needed, preserve your peace, and confront spiritual battles wisely. You will learn how silence can serve as a powerful tool for strength, protection, and trust in God's perfect plan. Silence is not just the absence of words. It is a conscious decision to protect what is sacred. In Matthew 7:26, Jesus warns us, "Do not give what is holy to the dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces." With this powerful metaphor, he reminds us that there are moments when speaking is unnecessary in front of those who are not ready to understand or value what we share. Take a moment to reflect. How many times have you tried to explain your intentions or justify your actions, only to be met with misunderstanding or contempt? C.S. Lewis said that some truths are too precious to be shared with closed hearts. Choosing silence rather than being seen as weakness becomes an act of strength that protects your inner peace and spiritual energy. Silence can be a tool to avoid unnecessary conflict. When you choose not to respond, you rise above the noise and refuse to play the game of those who seek to provoke you. This conscious choice allows you to focus on the true battles, the ones that deserve your energy and attention. Today, take a moment to practice this discipline. Observe your interactions and identify situations where silence could be a wiser response than words. Not only will you avoid unnecessary tensions, but you will also demonstrate wisdom inspired by Jesus' teachings. Ultimately, learning to value silence is an act of faith and trust in God, who acts on your behalf even when you choose not to speak. Not everyone around you has good intentions, and it's essential to recognize this in order to preserve your peace. Some people, influenced by negative spiritual forces or simply by their own hardened hearts, will react in ways that may hurt or deeply frustrate you. In such cases, trying to explain yourself or justify your choices will only make matters worse. C.S. Lewis emphasized the importance of discerning with whom we share our thoughts and emotions. He wrote that some souls are like infertile soil. No matter what you sow, nothing will grow. These interactions become fertile ground for misunderstandings, where your words are twisted or rejected. Jesus himself encountered people with distorted intentions. The Pharisees, for example, constantly tried to trap him with their words, but he chose not to respond to them or to deflect their attacks with wisdom. This teaches us that discernment is an essential spiritual quality. We must be attentive not only to the words of others, but also to their deeper intentions. Take a moment to pray for guidance in sharing your pearls. So observe the reactions of others. Are they receptive, respectful, and open to what you have to say? Or do they disregard your words and efforts? Learning to discern these differences will not only preserve your spiritual treasures, but also protect your peace. By choosing not to engage with those who have malicious intentions, you preserve your energy and inner peace. This wisdom will help you stay focused on what God wants to accomplish through you, without being distracted by unnecessary conflicts. It's crucial to understand that not every battle is worth fighting. The Apostle Paul reminds us in Ephesians 6:12 that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces of evil. Yet, how many times do we find ourselves engaged in unnecessary conflicts, losing sight of the most important thing? The true battle is spiritual. When we engage in earthly conflicts with ill-intentioned people, we risk stepping away from God's protection. These distractions prevent us from focusing our energy on what God has called us to do. This is exactly what the enemy wants, to see us scattered and exhausted, incapable of fulfilling our spiritual mission. C.S. Lewis, in his writings, often spoke about the enemy's strategy, which is to keep us occupied with trivial matters, preventing us from focusing on what truly matters. This principle is especially relevant when we get caught up in disputes that lead nowhere or bring no spiritual growth. These are traps designed to distract us. Take a moment to reflect. In what conflicts are you currently involved that lead to nothing constructive? Are these discussions truly worth your time? If not, it's time to step away from those unnecessary battles. By wisely choosing your battles, you can focus your strength on what truly matters: prayer, intercession, and fulfilling God's plan for your life. Letting go of the small disputes is not weakness, it's an act of faith and discernment. God is calling you to greater battles, those that bear eternal fruit. Pearls represent everything God has entrusted to you that is precious: your wisdom, your inner peace, your spiritual gifts, and your calling. In Matthew 7:6, Jesus warns us not to cast our pearls before swine, because they may trample them and turn on us. This teaching calls us to reflect on how we share these sacred treasures. How many times have you shared your deep thoughts or spiritual experiences with someone, only to see them ignored, mocked, or devalued? These moments are not only painful, but can also drain your energy and affect your faith. C.S. Lewis emphasized that some spiritual truths are like jewels, requiring fertile soil to be appreciated and understood for their true value. It's not about being selfish or closed off, but about discerning with whom you share what is sacred. Not everyone is ready to receive the blessings or revelations God has given you. Some people are spiritually hardened or influenced by negative forces, which prevents them from valuing what you offer. Take a moment to pray and ask God to guide you in sharing your pearls. Observe the reactions of others. Are they receptive, respectful, and open to what you have to say, or are they dismissive of your words and efforts? Learning to discern these differences will not only preserve your spiritual treasures, but also protect your peace. By protecting your pearls, you honor their value and honor God who entrusted them to you. This choice of wisdom will help you conserve your energy for the moments when your gifts will have a real impact. Jesus gives us the perfect example of how to handle spiritual confrontations with authority and wisdom. In Mark 1:25, when faced with a man possessed by an unclean spirit, he doesn't argue, explain, or defend himself. He simply says, "Be quiet," and come out of him. This simple act demonstrates inner strength and profound discernment, two qualities we are called to emulate. In our daily lives, we often face situations where we feel the need to defend ourselves or explain our actions, especially when we are criticized or misunderstood. However, these moments show us that words are not always necessary. Jesus' posture teaches us that sometimes spiritual authority is manifested by not engaging in endless debates. C.S. Lewis said that truth doesn't need constant justification to prove its worth. He insisted that wisdom lies in knowing when to speak and when to simply stand firm. In a world where everyone seeks to have the last word, choosing not to respond can be a powerful statement of trust in God. Take an example from Jesus. When faced with opposition, ask yourself, does this situation really require an explanation or defense? Often the best response is simply silence, accompanied by prayer. It's in these moments that you can experience the peace of God, knowing He is acting on your behalf. By following this example, you will not only gain serenity but also spiritual strength. This approach will allow you to keep your focus on what truly matters, your relationship with God and your mission in the world. If this message has inspired you, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Your like helps share this message with others who may need it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. What part of today's video resonated most with you? How do you plan to apply these strategies in your life? Share your reflections in the comments. Your words may encourage someone else on their spiritual journey. It is essential to understand that behind many conflicts lies a much deeper spiritual reality. The Apostle Paul, in Ephesians 6:12, reminds us that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the spiritual forces of evil. This truth radically shifts our perspective. The people we are in conflict with are often not our true enemies, but the spirits that influence them. We often spend too much time trying to convince, explain, or change people, while the true enemy works in the background. C.S. Lewis, in his writings, often spoke of the enemy's strategy, which is to keep us distracted with trivial things, preventing us from focusing on what truly matters. Discernment is crucial for identifying where the true battle lies. Take the example of Jesus in the face of the Pharisees. They constantly tried to trap him with questions and unnecessary debates. Jesus, in his wisdom, knew that their opposition came from hardened hearts and negative spiritual influences. He did not engage in endless arguments, but used discernment to either respond with authority or remain silent. Today, take a moment to assess your own conflicts. Are these disputes really directed at you? Or is there a deeper spiritual dimension you have yet to perceive? When you realize that the true battle is spiritual, you free yourself from the illusion that everything depends on your own efforts. By focusing your prayers and actions on the true enemy, you reinforce your spiritual authority. You stop wasting your energy and begin to see real, lasting victories, not by human strength, but through the power of God. Silence, often viewed as a weakness, is in reality a powerful and wise response. In Matthew 27:14, when Jesus is before Pilate, falsely accused and confronted with probing questions, he remains silent. This silence baffles Pilate, who cannot understand why Jesus does not defend himself. However, this choice demonstrates an absolute trust in God and a profound control of the situation. In our own lives, it is easy to feel obligated to respond to criticisms or justify our actions. But not everything needs an answer, nor is it always beneficial. C.S. Lewis said that sometimes truth speaks for itself, and our insistence on explaining it only dilutes its power. By choosing silence instead of responding, we show an unwavering faith in God to act on our behalf. Silence is also a tool to preserve your inner peace. When you refuse to engage in unnecessary discussions or debates that lead nowhere, you protect yourself from emotional and spiritual tension. It's a deliberate act of wisdom that demonstrates spiritual discernment. Take a moment to reflect. How many times have you found yourself caught in arguments or debates that brought nothing constructive but stress or frustration? And what if instead you had chosen to remain silent, trusting that God would take care of the situation? Learn to use silence as a strategic response. Not only will you preserve your energy and serenity, but you will also inspire respect and admiration for your calmness and wisdom. Silence, far from being an escape, becomes a powerful declaration of faith in God. Protecting your energy and calling is an essential priority in a world full of distractions. Every time you engage in unnecessary discussions or try to explain yourself to people who don't value your words, you are draining a precious resource, your emotional and spiritual energy. This energy is needed to fulfill the plans God has for you. C.S. Lewis reminds us that the enemy doesn't need to make us fall into great sins. He only needs to keep us busy with secondary concerns, preventing us from pursuing our true mission. Every moment spent defending your actions or justifying your choices in the face of unnecessary criticism is one less moment to invest in your calling. Take the example of Jesus, who always knew where to concentrate his energy. During his ministry, he carefully chose which battles to fight, responding with discernment or retreating when necessary. This approach allowed him to stay aligned with the Father's will and avoid being distracted by needless conflicts. In your life, this may mean setting clear boundaries with people or situations that drain your energy. Learn to say no when something does not serve your divine purpose. This does not mean ignoring others' needs, but prioritizing what God has called you to do. By protecting your energy, you ensure that your strength is directed toward what truly matters: prayer, intercession, and fulfilling God's plan for your life. Don't forget, every time you choose to preserve your energy, you honor the unique calling God has placed on you. Trusting in God's timing is one of the greatest acts of faith a believer can practice. In a society where everything seems to move faster and faster, we often struggle to wait for things to unfold at God's perfect time. Yet the Bible is full of reminders that God always acts at his time and for our good. As Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven." Take the example of Jesus. He never rushed a decision nor responded to others' pressures to act according to their expectations. Even when confronted with accusations or expectations, he remained patient, demonstrating complete trust in his Father's plan. This behavior was not passivity, but an active faith, grounded in divine wisdom. C.S. Lewis wrote that God is never in a hurry, because he is the master of time. This truth is crucial when we face situations where we want to force things to happen or impose our own deadlines. Learning to wait on God's timing is also learning to trust Him to act when it will benefit us the most. In your life, this may mean waiting for answers to prayers, new opportunities, or changes in relationships. Every time you choose to trust God's timing, you are declaring that you believe He sees and knows what you can't yet understand. The fruit of this patience is lasting peace. Aligning your schedule with God's allows you to avoid burnout and gives you the strength to walk in His perfect will. Waiting on God's moment is choosing peace over impatience. Silence and stillness have a transformative power that we often underestimate. In Isaiah 30:15 it says, "In quietness and trust is your strength." This verse reminds us that inner peace and trust in God are essential tools for facing life's spiritual and emotional challenges. In a noisy and chaotic world, we are constantly pressured to act, speak, or react. However, silence offers a space where we can hear God's voice. C.S. Lewis said that in moments of calm, we often discover deep truths and receive divine direction. When we are caught up in the turmoil, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you turned off all external noise and simply listened? It's only by cultivating this habit of silence that we can fully perceive God's presence and understand His plans for us. It requires intentionality, but the benefits are immeasurable. Spiritual clarity, renewed peace, and an inner strength that transcends circumstances. Silence is not a passive posture, but an active declaration of faith. It shows that you trust God to act on your behalf and that you don't need to control everything or explain it all. This silence becomes a powerful tool to resist distractions, strengthen your discernment, and stay aligned with your calling. Make this transformative silence a daily habit. These moments of calm, though brief, can have a profound impact on your faith and life. God speaks in the silence. Listen to Him, and let this silence renew your soul and guide your steps. Every day you choose to remain in the noise and confusion, you miss out on a precious opportunity to draw closer to God and experience the peace He offers. Silence, patience, and trust are not escapes or weaknesses, but acts of faith that show your reliance on Him. Remember, great spiritual transformations don't always come from spectacular gestures, but from simple decisions made every day. Jesus showed us that sometimes not answering, not defending, and staying silent can be the most powerful act. This choice preserves your peace and frees you to focus on what really matters. Today, reflect on your own life. What conflicts or distractions have you allowed to steal your energy and peace? What if from now on you chose silence and trusted God to handle the situation? Let this reflection motivate you to reevaluate your priorities and take different actions. Every step in this direction is a step toward a spiritually richer life, more aligned with God's will. You are not alone in this journey. God walks with you. If this message has touched your heart, take a moment to act. Like this video, subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts in the comments. Which strategy from today's video will you start applying in your life? Share it with us because your experience may inspire others to find peace and strength in silence. Together, by cultivating silence, patience, and trust in God, we can grow in our faith and discover the wonderful plans He has for each of us. You have a voice, and your testimony can be a light to others. So, don't wait any longer. Commit today to preserving your peace, protecting your pearls, and trusting God's perfect plan for your life. Silence is not an absence of action, but a declaration of faith. By choosing not to explain yourself, not engaging in unnecessary conflicts, and trusting God, you are affirming that you believe in His power and His perfect plan for your life. Remember the words of Isaiah 30:15, "In quietness and trust is your strength." Let this truth accompany you in your daily decisions. God is calling you to a life of peace, discernment, and deep trust. This journey starts with one simple step, choosing to surrender your battles to Him. As you continue walking in this truth, know that God is working behind the scenes to reveal His glory and justice in His perfect timing. Protect your peace, stay firm in your faith, and allow God to guide your steps towards spiritual victories. May God bless you abundantly. Thank you for joining us today, and remember, in silence and trust, you will find your strength. See you soon.